Alrighty, afternoon kids. We are making beans. And the kind of beans we are making are pinto beans. You'll need 2 bags of pinto beans. These are 1 pound each. I'm making a big batch. You can always cut this down. This is a very wide recipe, not one that you need to do anything in particular for. You can have lots of variety. So this is 2 of those packages of beans that have been soaking and have just been rinsed and picked through. I'm usually just looking for weird loose bits, anything that looks wrong, anything that's crunchy. These are not cooked beans, these have just been soaked, and as you can see they're like a little bit breakable. I have a ham bone that I put in the freezer from my ham from before the holidays. And it is still a little frozen, and it doesn't hurt anything because it's just going to sit here and cook for a long time. You can see it's just bone, a little bit of meat. Hammy good. And juices. There we go. I am going to cheat and use some broth. My husband would tell me that I'm doing it wrong because this is his granny's recipe and I'm not allowed to make substitutions. I'm making a substitution. There's just some chicken stock. Adds just a tiny bit more depth of flavor. Not a big deal one way or the other. Don't worry about it if you just use water. I need more than that. Sorry. Filling water. I'm also going to add an onion and some pepper. And that is it. So this is not a complicated recipe. What this does take is time. You can do this in the crock pot, but the beans do not get as creamy and the sauce does not get as thick. So I do this for special occasions on the stove top, and when I don't have the time, I do them in the crock pot. And if I do them in the crock pot, one of the things you can do to get it to be a little bit thicker, I'm just going to make sure everything's under the water. There we go. Is we can blend up some of the beans when it's done to make it a little thicker. But that's not necessarily a big step. I will be serving this with cornbread this evening, a couple of hours from now. This is kind of my hurry up version. I'm going to turn this up for right now. I'm going to bring it to a boil, then I'm going to bring it down to a simmer. And I'm going to put an onion in here before it gets too long. And again, hubby would probably tell me that's wrong because his granny only used onion powder. But to be honest, she probably would have used onion had she had them. Onion powder's just cheap and easy. So let me chop up this onion to throw in there. Now, personally, I would add things like carrots and celery and stuff like that somewhere along the lines for an alternative. But, you know, that would not be the proper Southern thing to do for this particular recipe. This is what we refer to in our house as pinto beans, and that's all there's in there. Onion, pinto bean, and ham bone. In a pinch, if you don't have a ham bone, you can do a ham hock, you can do a sliced ham chunk from the grocery store, you can use a smoked turkey leg, just something that gives it, again, depth of flavor from that smokier end of the meat world. You could actually even do a vegetarian version. I'm just not quite sure how you would get the saltiness in there other than some major salt. Clearly this is not a vegetarian recipe. A little bit more. This is a nice big onion. I'm going to chop it all up. Trying to think how long I'm going to let it sit here. It's going to simmer for at least 3 hours. This is a good one to do when you got all day to watch it. Again, you can do it in the crock pot. It's just not going to be quite as thick in the crock pot version unless you do some alternative things. Blending the beans, removing some of the water, and thickening it in a couple of different ways. But this pot of beans is going to last a family of 6 for at least 3 meals, if not more. And frequently, just so that we don't get too bored of it, I will put away some of it in the freezer to reheat when you don't have time to make fresh ones. And, oh, if you need to hurry up your dried beans, one thing you can do, and again, we don't tell the husband, is you can put the beans on with some water, bring it to a boil, cover it, turn it off, let it stand for an hour. Rinse everything, pour out all of that water, and then start your beans just like this. Works almost as well as the overnight soak. Shh, we don't tell the husband. This is it. Pinto beans. We'll be making some cornbread from a box mix later tonight, and that is dinner. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'm trying to do the bigger format, so if my kitchen looks disgusting, I'll work on that. Sorry. Love you guys. Have a happy new year, and let's go 2022. All right, bye.